The morning sun cast long shadows across Maple Street as Rosa Jenkins watered her prize-winning roses. At 72, the retired teacher moved with careful precision, her weathered hands gentle with each bloom. Her small brick house stood proudly among the row of similar homes, each one telling stories of families who had built their lives here over decades. Rosa had taught third grade for 43 years, watching generations of children grow into successful adults. Her walls displayed hundreds of thank you cards, graduation photos, and certificates of appreciation. Today felt like any other peaceful Tuesday until she heard the rumble of a white van pulling into her driveway. 3 men stepped out, wearing matching blue coveralls and hard hats. The tallest one, a man with cold gray eyes, carried a clipboard. His companions followed behind, one carrying a toolbox, the other holding what appeared to be inspection equipment. "Good morning, ma'am," the leader called out, his voice artificially friendly. "We're from the city utility department. There's been reports of gas leaks in this neighborhood. We need to inspect your lines immediately for safety reasons." Rosa's instincts prickled with unease. Something felt wrong about these men. Their coveralls looked too new, too clean for actual utility workers. She noticed dirt under their fingernails that didn't match their supposedly professional appearance. "I wasn't notified about any inspection," Rosa said, stepping back toward her front door. "Could you show me some identification, please?" The man's smile faltered for just a moment. "Ma'am, this is an emergency situation. We don't have time for paperwork. If there's a gas leak, your whole block could be in danger." His 2 companions moved closer, flanking her on both sides. Rosa's heart began to race as she realized these weren't city workers at all. Her hand trembled as she reached for her door handle, but the leader was already pushing past her, forcing his way into her home. "Now, let's make this easy for everyone," he said, his mask of politeness completely gone. Once inside Rosa's living room, the 3 men dropped their pretense entirely. The leader, who Rosa now saw had a snake tattoo creeping up his neck, gestured for his companions to spread out through the house. "Listen here, old lady," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "We know you people keep cash hidden around the house. Don't trust banks, right? Make this simple and tell us where you keep the money." Rosa straightened her shoulders despite her fear. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please leave my home immediately." The second man, shorter with greasy black hair, laughed harshly. "Look at her, thinking she can give us orders. These people always think they're better than they are." "Search every room," the leader commanded. "Check behind picture frames, under mattresses, inside books. They always hide it somewhere stupid." Rosa watched in horror as they began tearing through her carefully maintained home. Family photos crashed to the floor, their glass frames shattering. The shorter man swept her collection of porcelain angels off the mantelpiece, sending them crashing into pieces. "Stop, please," Rosa pleaded. "Those belong to my grandmother." "Your grandmother was probably a slave," the third man, who had remained quiet until now, spoke with vicious satisfaction. "These old family treasures ain't worth nothing anyway." They found her jewelry box in the bedroom, dumping its contents onto her bed. Rosa's wedding ring from her late husband Harold, her mother's pearl necklace, and the gold watch her students had given her for retirement, all disappeared into their pockets. The leader noticed Rosa's hand moving toward the small table beside her favorite chair. Hidden beneath a decorative doily was her emergency alert button, connected directly to her son's phone. "What's that?" he demanded, grabbing her wrist roughly. Rosa pressed the button just as he yanked her hand away. The small device beeped once, so quietly only she heard it. Her heart pounded with hope, knowing that somewhere, her son Marcus would receive the signal. "Just a lamp switch," she lied, meeting his eyes with defiant courage. The men continued their rampage, filling a pillowcase with her belongings. They took her late husband's military medals, her grandmother's silver tea set, and even the cash she kept for groceries. "This ain't enough," the leader snarled. "Where's the real money hidden?" 200 miles away at Fort Bragg, Commander Marcus Jenkins stood before a wall-mounted tactical display, briefing his Delta Force unit on their upcoming mission in Eastern Europe. His imposing 6'3" frame commanded respect from the 20 elite soldiers seated before him. At 45, Marcus had earned his reputation through 15 years of flawless operations across 3 continents. His phone buzzed with the distinctive emergency tone he had programmed specifically for his mother's alert system. Marcus glanced at the screen and saw the code that made his blood run cold: immediate danger at home. "Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, take over the briefing," Marcus commanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline now surging through his system. "Emergency family situation." Without waiting for acknowledgement, Marcus strode from the room and immediately dialed his mother's number. It went straight to voicemail. He tried again with the same result. His military training kicked in as he began calculating response times and logistics. Marcus burst into the operations center where Sergeant First Class Rivera was monitoring communications equipment. "Rivera, I need immediate satellite surveillance on this address," he said, scribbling his mother's location on a piece of paper. "Priority 1 authorization." "Sir, that's domestic territory. We'd need special clearance from—" "Get it," Marcus interrupted. "Whatever it takes. I also need local police dispatch records for that address in the last 30 minutes. While Rivera worked his contacts, Marcus called his old friend Detective Samuel Wright with the County Sheriff's Department. "Sam, it's Marcus. I need units at my mother's house right now. She triggered her emergency alert and isn't answering her phone." "On it," Sam replied without hesitation. "ETA 12 minutes. Marcus grabbed his keys and sprinted toward his personal vehicle, a modified black pickup truck. During his drive, he contacted 3 more local law enforcement friends, his former Delta teammate who now worked private security nearby, and even reached out to neighbors he remembered from childhood. His phone displayed the GPS route, 93 minutes at normal speed. Marcus pressed the accelerator harder, knowing that every second could mean the difference between his mother's safety and something unthinkable happening to the woman who had raised him to become the man he was today. Marcus screeched into his mother's driveway just as Detective Wright's patrol car arrived from the opposite direction. The front door stood wide open, and Rosa sat on her porch steps, wrapped in a blanket provided by a concerned neighbor. Relief flooded through Marcus as he saw she was physically unharmed, but her tear-streaked face told him everything he needed to know. "Mama," Marcus said, dropping to one knee beside her. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "No, baby, I'm okay," Rosa whispered, gripping his hand tightly. "But they took everything. Harold's medals, Grandma's silver, even the watch from my students." Detective Wright approached with his notepad ready. "Mrs. Jenkins, can you describe the suspects?" While Rosa gave her statement, Marcus walked through the destroyed house, his trained eyes cataloging every detail. He photographed tire tracks in the driveway with his phone, noting the tread pattern and wheelbase width. At the back door, he found fresh scratches on the lock mechanism and a small piece of blue fabric caught on the door frame. They were driving a white utility van, Rosa told the officers. "The license plate started with the letters GH, I think." Marcus examined the street, noticing disturbed gravel where the van had made a sharp turn. He walked to Mrs. Patterson's house next door, knowing she had security cameras facing the street. The cameras caught them leaving, Mrs. Patterson confirmed, showing Marcus the footage on her phone. They headed toward Industrial Boulevard. Marcus studied the timestamp and calculated their possible escape routes. His military experience in tracking insurgents through urban environments now served a deeply personal mission. "Sam," he called to Detective Wright, "I need you to put out a bolo for a white panel van, possibly with utility company markings. Check pawn shops, scrap dealers, and storage units within a 15-mile radius." "Already on it," Wright replied. "But Marcus, let us handle this. Don't do anything that could compromise the case." Marcus nodded, but his jaw tightened with determination. These men had made a fatal mistake. 6 hours later, Marcus received a call from his contact at the pawn shop on Industrial Boulevard. 3 men just tried to sell military medals and some old silver. When I asked questions, they got nervous and left fast. They're parked behind Murphy's Auto Repair, arguing about something. Marcus arrived to find Detective Wright already positioning patrol cars around the building. The white van sat in the back lot, its fake utility decals peeling at the edges. Police. Hands where we can see them. Wright shouted as officers surrounded the 3 men. The leader with the snake tattoo looked up in shock. What's this about? We ain't done nothing. Marcus stepped forward, his Delta Force uniform still crisp despite the long day. You robbed the wrong mother. Recognition dawned in the criminal's eyes as he saw the family resemblance. His cocky demeanor crumbled completely. You terrorized a 72-year-old woman, Marcus continued, his voice controlled but deadly serious. You stole items that belonged to generations of her family. You used racial slurs against someone who spent 4 decades educating children in this community. The shorter thief tried to run but found himself face to face with another officer. All 3 men were handcuffed and loaded into patrol cars while Marcus watched Rosa's stolen belongings being recovered from their van. Your mother raised a good man, Detective Wright said, clapping Marcus on the shoulder. She raised me to believe in justice, Marcus replied. Today, justice won. Back at Rosa's house, Marcus helped her carefully arrange her recovered treasures. The silver tea set gleamed on the dining room table, Harold's medals hung proudly in their display case, and her student's retirement watch ticked steadily on her wrist. Some people see an elderly black woman living alone and think she's an easy target, Rosa said, straightening Harold's Purple Heart medal. They don't know the strength that runs in our family. Marcus smiled, knowing his mother had always been the strongest person he knew.